What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT Network. My name is Mundungus Creevy. Alongside my co-host, as always, Cameron Parker Pooh, Engaged Madrid NFL. What's going on, gentlemen?
Oh, we're vibing. The vibes are immaculate. Certainly
No old people holding us back. No, I'm sorry.
We kind of got the ball thing kind of taken care of with you in the building there, Mike. But yeah, the hat.
Whoa, hair, sir.
I'm just saying. Eventually, I'm foreshadowing the future.
No, nobody in my family's bald, so it will not be me.
But no, vibes are immaculate. I mean, Broncos trend is moving up and up and up, and even maybe significantly further to where they've got themselves a franchise quarterback. Broncos took care of business. They tamed the Panthers. Vibes are immaculate, Gage.
They are indeed. We saw Bo Nix put together his best performance of his career. We saw his footwork look clean, crisp, and that led to accuracy. He was dealing all day long. Pretty much all the misses were wide receivers not catching the ball, or one of them, in my opinion, was a pass interference that should have been called. That wasn't. Oh crap! But but regardless. And vibes are immaculate. That's a performance that you can build off of. And yes, it was against a garbage defense, but that's exactly what you are supposed to do to a garbage defense. You are supposed to take them out to the dumpster. And that is what Bo Nix did.
Yeah, it was.
Set them on fire.
It was something. And obviously the scoreboard is not an indication of like what we were truly wanting to have happen, in the sense of like, we wanted the final score to be, if you will, 28-7, not 28-14, but still, like, we were kind of hoping for a 10+ victory, and we got it. But I just think that, like, when you kind of peel back the layers, that was about as perfect a game as you could have ever asked for. And I'll start first with probably the one that I think is, not many are talking about it, but in the sense of like, what you talked about just there briefly, like about like, these are the games that you have to win. How many times would we often see, sometimes in the Drew Lock era or the Flacco era, kind of roughly that same era, but just even Teddy Bridgewater, just even post Peyton Manning, where these types of games where that they had to win those games, and they would just choke it away. I mean, obviously, I think the one game that really comes into mind, obviously they took care of business on the Thursday night game, and it gave a lot of people flashbacks before going into that game, with the Saints. But that Browns game, like, it's the one that just vividly goes into my brain, a game they absolutely should never have lost. And, but no, it just seems like, it's such an important thing with coaching that, like, he is going to be getting this team right. He's going to be coaching them into every single situation. And you're going to see growth from every single game. And to your footwork, point, Gage, I even tweeted finally today, but it was like, to go from, I think it was about 10 days, but to have 10 days where you saw about, the cleanest of footwork possible from a quarterback, was that should give a lot of Bronco fans excitement, knowing the fact that he had 10 days to prepare and he got his footwork work like that. Like, so that should give you optimism, heading into even this offseason, that if he has that full season of offseason work and he's doing this kind of stuff, who knows what that ceiling is going to be with Bo.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what we want to see now is, does he revert back to bad habits after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks? We want to see him consistently have this good footwork. And against the Baltimore Ravens, this is actually a sneaky good opponent for him to potentially take advantage of, because the Ravens have a really bad defense, honestly. Their pass defense is not great. Their run defense is better. Their run defense is decent, but their pass defense is awful. Bo Nix should be able to carve them up. What'd you say?
They're last in the league.
Dead last. Yeah. They are not good.
Correct.
And it's kind of like an inverse of the Panthers and the Saints, where you should have been able to take advantage on the ground. You did against New Orleans. You didn't against Carolina. In this game, you should be able to do whatever you want through the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So before we get in any deeper into the Broncos and next week, we got a couple things that we need to talk about. First, one is this completely shattered my heart when I read it. Charvarius Ward plays for 49ers. His daughter, since birth, have been battling heart problems, and she just passed away at 1 year old. So I've been hugging the kids a little bit tighter since I got home, because a parent should never outlive their child. I don't care what team you root for. I don't care where you live. I don't care if you hate football players or not. Like, thoughts and prayers, condolences, every single thing you can send the Ward family's way would be much appreciated. I'm not even really sure what to say. Like, it hurts, and it's not my kid, but I understand it.
Yeah, it's one that you just can't put into words. I mean, you can craft it, you can feel like you can say what you got to say, but it's gut wrenching, and even for, families that even have, people or little ones of that age group, it's such a tough pill to swallow, because it's one where, you just can't envision your life without them, and it's just, it is just gut wrenching. So our thoughts and prayers for sure go to Charvarius Ward for the unfortunate loss.
Yeah. All right. So now that I brought the mood way down, let's. I got some other topics I want to talk about. There are related to the Broncos. Whether we're going to see them in the next week or so, whether we might meet them in the playoffs, whatever it may be. I have some other topics I want to talk about. But before we get into that, can we all agree that Davante Adams is an idiot for picking the Jets?
But
like, the Jets are horrible, and obviously it wasn't Robert Saleh.
But I was told by Mr. Darkness himself that the speech last week before that game against the Patriots was one of the best speeches that he had ever heard in 20 years of playing national football. That's what Mr. Darkness told me, right? Like, so clearly Davante Adams, voicing about his support, in the Jets locker room, and what he chose not to do with the Las Vegas Raiders, by the way. But I thought for sure it was going to work out. But I am happy. I am excited, because you know what? This New York Jets team is having their 2022 Russell Wilson moment. And they're
having the time of their lives. That's no, but and again, not Denver related, but we did miss out on Aaron Rodgers. Thank the Lord. Davante Adams is not on the Raiders anymore. But I mean, listen, we could have had Aaron Rodgers, snorting Tabasco sauce and rubbing crackers on his tongue, because that's what he read on Google about being healthy. But as much as I hated Russell Wilson and the setbacks we had on that, thank God we did not get Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. Jets are about to go through it right now, man.
Well, you're right, and now he's on a team that's rebuilding, right? Like, you're only going to get Rodgers for this year. I don't think he plays next year. I don't either at this point.
But I don't know though. Like,
at this point, you're on a rebuild. Like, I don't think there's any doubt on that one.
But we're also seeing a franchise that is also bending, hand and fist to Aaron Rodgers. So I mean, this is a LeBron James situation going on with the Jets. Like, they are, basically, on their knees with Aaron Rodgers, acquiescing every single request of his. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility he's there for, 4 years. I mean, it's just, I don't know. 4.
I know.
I don't know if he plays that long, just because of, you just got to be honest, man. His game is declining. He is not the same Aaron Rodgers that we have seen in the past, not the same Aaron Rodgers that won back-to-back MVPs just a few years ago. The injuries are starting to stack up. Even this year, he's dealing with ankle, hamstring, all kinds of lower body crap. Last year, he had the Achilles. Year before that, fractured thumb. Those injuries are starting to stack up. So I do believe that the Jets ownership is incompetent enough that they would bow down to whatever Aaron Rodgers wanted to do next year. I don't think that Woody Johnson has the balls to say that this was a failed experiment, like the Broncos had the balls to say that Russell Wilson was a failed experiment. Got to give credit where it's due, man. The Broncos took their medicine. We'll see if the Browns are going to take their medicine with Deshaun Watson. We're going to see if the Jets are going to take their medicine with Aaron Rodgers. But right now, man, I could see that incompetent organization bowing down to Rodgers once again because they are that freaking stupid.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers will figure something out. He'll go rip some bark off of a tree and tickle his pinky toe, and his ankle will be feeling better in seconds. He'll figure something out.
He'll go do some psychedelic drugs down in Peru.
Right?
I was going to say, since we're on the theme of sniffing Tabasco sauce, he'll probably do some sniffing of Tabasco sauce as well. And and regarding the Browns, they're going to have to do some massaging to get off of that contract of Deshaun Watson.
They'll go to Pizza Hut and rub some Parmesan cheese on his ass crack and figure something. I don't know what he's going to do.
He's going to need to get
Speaking of the Browns, who we play later in the season, Deshaun Watson obviously gone for the year because of his Achilles, visiting all kinds of massage therapists right now.
Getting some Mushu.
Mario, keep your door shut. I was waiting for that joke like all week. But you have Jameis Winston stepping in, and honestly, Jameis Winston makes the Browns better.
He does.
With Deshaun Watson, which I love that for Jameis Winston, but I hate that for the Broncos.
Yeah. You wonder how sustainable it is, I just but you definitely are happy for him because just unfortunately, Jameis is a serviceable quarterback. It's one of those things, like, can he get you over the hump of where they need to be? And obviously this is unrelated to the Watson stuff, but yeah, we'll see. And the other thing too is, like, now it's going to end up being compared a little bit to what Joe Flacco gave the Browns now, because we're
going to get there.
So it's just, it's going to be very interesting.
I think it's going to be somewhat similar though, because you got to remember that Joe Flacco was kind of playing fuck it ball there for a while. He was literally just chucking them up to Amari Cooper and David Njoku and company and just letting them come down with it. He threw quite a few interceptions in Cleveland last year. I think it's going to be a very similar situation with Jameis Winston, where he threw a couple of effort balls in that game. He had a couple of balls that should have been intercepted that were dropped by the defense. So I think it's going to be classic Jameis Winston football. He'll give you those big splash plays, but he's also going to put the ball in harm's way.
He'll give you big splash plays the other way.
What?
I said he'll give you big splash plays, but it'll also be the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. But either way, Jameis Winston raises the ceiling of this Browns team tenfold over what Deshaun Watson provided. Watson was playing like a replacement level backup. He was not good. And this is all like the off the field stuff aside. Deshaun Watson was legitimately the worst quarterback in football until this injury happened. I think that at this point, anything could have raised the ceilings for this Browns team. So I'm definitely concerned about them coming into Denver. But Jameis Winston is also going to play that F it and chuck it football, and we all know that will cause you to lose games.
And no matter what, despite what anybody thinks about the Russell Wilson contract and how much Denver had to pay him to leave, no matter what, the Browns are on the hook for a minimum of 170 million? 140. 170? Yeah, fully guaranteed. Like, that's a lot of money. Like, no matter how much we paid Russ to leave, 170 million is a lot. Like, it's double.
Yeah.
How you guys like that adult in the room, Cleveland?
Yeah.
Right? Like, People keep talking about the Russell Wilson trade being the worst ever. No, Deshaun Watson, horrible trade.
It's just
for what you gave up, and for now what you're on the hook for. Not even close.
Yeah, it's just so unfortunate that actually is where things are going. That people are so dumb enough to actually think that it was the Broncos who had the worst contract, and I mean it was certainly up there. But it wasn't number one as far as like the worst contract, and so anybody that thinks that, hate to say it, but you guys are not ball knowers.
Yeah. So one of the other reasons why I brought up the Browns and Jameis Winston is because I think with Jameis Winston making this team better, that takes Njoku off the trade block.
It
Maybe.
could.
Yeah, it could.
I think next week against the Chargers, that'll tell us all.
Yep. One of the other things, and we'll get into the Ravens trade when we talk about the game coming up. But we also play the Colts later in the season. Anthony Richardson has now been benched for Joe Flacco, probably because he went, I'm tired, I'm coming out. I don't want to play anymore. No.
Yeah, it's such a, I don't know where to begin with this. It's football's a sport, right? And it's a sport where it's full of competitors. And it's just a really disgusting look for you to basically quit, on the team, and specifically a coach who, drafted you and imported a lot of resources for you to be the guy with the Indianapolis Colts. And you chose to take yourself out of the game and put yourself on the bench. I mean, you have to say it for what it is. And, and for all these idiots that are out there thinking that, Anthony Richardson actually was not that bad on Sunday. It's like, he was disgusting. I mean, so
awful, bad.
Yeah, I think Dan Orlovsky was talking about that. He's like, he wasn't that, like, he was better than the stats said. No.
Okay. It's even then it still showed 2 of 15. So I mean, and for anybody that was off the Bo Nix bandwagon, go look at Anthony Richardson's stats for the 10 games that he's been in the National Football League, and you tell me who's been the worst quarterback through 10 games. I'll wait.
Gardner Minshew. Oh, sorry. I just had to rub it into the Raiders just a little bit.
I'm going to go on a rant about this too, because this shit pisses me off. It really does. You've got guys in that locker room. Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, DeForest Buckner, Michael Pittman. God knows what those guys are putting their bodies through every single day to play. God knows what they're trying to do just to be able to sleep at night, just to be able to freaking function. And you're out there taking plays off because you're tired. Name a quarterback in the NFL that has ever taken a play off because he's tired. And I'll remind you, it was a 3rd down and 23 where he was probably going to hand the freaking ball off anyway. This is ridiculous. And to your point, Cam, Anthony Richardson has been, Mike, I'll give you a couple seconds to cue up the clip here.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Hey, you gave me a heads up. And
absolute booty cheeks. Anthony Richardson has been absolute booty cheeks. He's inaccurate. His footwork is sloppy. It hasn't gotten better like Bo Nix's has. Anthony Richardson literally has shown no development as a pocket passer, and even as an athlete, he's still running into contact and getting himself hurt. I'm seriously out on Anthony Richardson. I don't care that he's only 22. He's got to seriously sit back for a year or two and really reset everything before I would even think about starting him again. Joe Flacco is the Colts starting quarterback for the rest of the season.
Which, again, brings up the point. We now have a quarterback that is stepping in and making a team better that we're playing down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's Joe Flacco, because to be fair, he was incredible at the Browns last year.
Yeah,
and as much as I didn't like him in Denver, you got to respect the drive he's got of getting this back on track.
For sure. No, absolutely. But I think that
shut your mouth.
To do like a future preview, one of the things that has kind of plagued the Broncos has been a mobile quarterback to a degree. And so having a stationary quarterback, like Flacco is not great, for the Colts, specifically with that defensive line that the Broncos have. So, but nonetheless, like, when you have a much more competent, quarterback, it's going to make your team better. It's going to make Alec Pierce better. It's going to make the entire locker room better. I mean, like, frankly, I don't know where the front office and the coaching staff certainly will sit with Anthony Richardson, but if my player quit on my team like that and put himself on the bench, you're riding the pine pony. You're immediately demoted to, scout quarterback and like a third string. You're not even seeing the field.
I just put him on IR. Honestly, I would.
Frankly, and because
here's 4 weeks.
No, but because it's also rookie contract, it's also somewhat easy to move off of. So it's just like, why not just cut him? I mean, like, it sounds very egregious, but it's just like those are the measures that the front office and the staff need to really have a come to Jesus moment, really, with Anthony Richardson. And it's just like, it's so bad. And, I mean, like, and obviously, Anthony Richardson, incredible talent. But to your point, Gage, like, you got to take care of your body, and you're not doing that. You're more than you're hurting your team more than you're helping the team. And frankly, I never thought I would say this on a podcast, or let alone even see the day. But we are looking at a situation where Jamarcus Russell was a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson.
Wow. Now, I will say this. I agree that someone needs to talk to Anthony Richardson, but I don't think it needs to be a coach. The offensive linemen need to go talk to Anthony Richardson and be like, no, you're not doing that. Like, we're out here every play. We don't get to take a play off. If we take a play off, something bad happens. You don't get to take a play off. That's got to be a conversation that a veteran lineman or multiple veteran linemen go and have with their starting quarterback.
I agree wholeheartedly. Like, seriously, if offensive linemen aren't taking freaking plays off, then there's no excuse for a 22-year-old quarterback. Do more cardio, dude. Seriously, do more cardio. If you're getting tired because you're running around on the field, then you don't belong on the field, buddy. And that's exactly what is happening here. And again, there's more to it. Anthony Richardson has not been good. He's barely shown flashes. He'll have those splash plays, but he can't do the simple basic stuff right. And he's got to learn that before he can even sniff the field again. You have a quarterback on your roster who is an experienced veteran who has won a Super Bowl, who led the Browns to the playoffs last year with his veteran leadership. And quite frankly, Joe Flacco can still sling the rock. He can still sling that pill, man. So I feel like right now the Colts ceiling is a lot higher right now with Joe Flacco in there. And I think they're a legitimate playoff threat now that Joe Flacco is under center.
And not to like besmirch any quarterback or the quarterback position in general, but out of all of the positions on the field, other than kicker, punter, and holder, like, you have the least physically taxing job on the field.
Yeah.
So
and to the point, the bold point that I made, like, it's just Jamarcus Russell lasted, a little bit longer, right? Someone actually lasted a little bit longer in the league, and that was Jamarcus Russell. But like, also don't mince words. Russell's a bust, and the way things are going right now, I mean, like, Anthony Richardson is trending in worse territory than Paxton Lynch right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, it is unbelievably bad. And so, I mean, I'm hoping he can get the help that he needs and he can turn that corner. But right now, I said what I said.
Yeah. All right, so this next one doesn't really have any impact on the Broncos unless we meet them in the playoffs. But Stephon Diggs is out for the year for the Houston Texans with a torn ACL. Again, doesn't matter right now, but I'm assuming that we're going to meet them at some point in the playoffs, and then it will matter. So just threw that in there for a little sprinkles on top. And then this one doesn't matter either, but I hated that everyone was saying Caleb Williams is going to be the best rookie quarterback in the league. Matty Eberflus needs to be fired. Like, it is ridiculous how stupid the Bears look. If you go into a press conference and say, well, the plays right before the Hail Mary didn't really matter because it was going to Hail Mary. It definitely matters. There's a big difference between a 50-yard bomb and an 80-yard bomb. Like, the plays beforehand matter. You can't go out there and say that and be taken seriously as a head coach.
Oh, and then he throws his players under the bus.
Right. And then, like, why do you have a linebacker spying Jaden Daniels? He's not going to run the ball for 57 yards and get a touchdown because you're in prevent. He might gain 40 yards, but he's not going to get a touchdown. Why do you have a linebacker spying?
Good point.
Yeah, it's wild. And, I mean, and to Caleb Williams, I mean, there's times where he plays, incredible football. But I think there's times where, and we saw a little bit too much in college, but where street ball can only get you so far. Like Johnny Manziel is a really good example. Obviously, I'm not, saying Caleb Williams is going to end up being a bust, but it's just but the street ball attitude of the way things go, it has a place. It's just about, how can we be able to maintain it, play within the pocket. And at times it's really gotten him burned this year. It has really gotten him burned. And for even calling it for what it is, much better weapons than Bo Nix, it's kind of somewhat of a bit of a disappointment, especially too when you give the fact that Jaden Daniels, also much better weapons than Bo Nix, is also balling out and, playing at, maybe the leader in the clubhouse for Rookie of the Year. So it's just it's unbelievably wild, that, where things are going. But I do think that there have been plays with Caleb where you're like, oh, wow, this is an incredible play of processing and the way that he can, do things in the pocket. Yeah.
And Cam, you said exactly what I was going to say. Like, you look at Caleb Williams and the Bears, and then you look at Bo Nix and the Broncos. Bo Nix is doing more with less. Like, you can't go out there and be the starting quarterback of the Bears with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen.
Cole Kmet,
and then just look absolutely ridiculous on the field. Like, you can't. You have so many weapons. There's no excuse at this point. Like, I understand you're a rookie, and I understand that your coaching sucks, but come on. Like, if you have a guy that was picked at 12 that's doing more with less.
Well, yeah,
I
but
don't know what to say.
In fairness to Caleb, though, he is in an overall crappier situation in terms of offensive play caller. Shane Waldron is god awful. He needs to be fired. I'm sorry. Like, that was a horrible hire. They should have done what the Commanders did and hired Cliff Kingsbury. The best part about Cliff Kingsbury is you're not going to lose him coaching job. The NFL already knows that Cliff Kingsbury sucks as a head coach. He's going to be able to stay with Jaden in Washington and develop him for the long haul. And I'm going to take a little bit of a victory lap here. Who was all over Jaden Daniels from the start, man? I didn't expect him to be this good, but I knew he was going to be special. This kid is the future of the NFL. He really is. He's going to be up there in conversations with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This kid is special. And we're seeing it come out early and often. With Caleb Williams, he's special too, but I think that he's in a much crappier situation in terms of just the overall structure around him than Jaden is, and he just wasn't put in the situation to succeed. And with Bo, he was put in a very strong situation with Sean Payton as his offensive play caller. I feel like the offensive line has definitely been a strong asset for this Broncos team. The run game has had its moments. It's been up, it's been down, and the receiving game has also kind of been up and down. But I think overall, you could say that even Bo Nix has a better situation overall than Caleb Williams does, just in terms of play caller and probably offensive line, especially.
If you're going to take a victory lap, sorry, Cam, if you're going to take a victory lap on Jaden Daniels, and I'm taking one on Dan Quinn, I pounded the table for that guy for 2 hiring cycles. And I kept saying, he's really good at bringing in coordinators. He brought in Cliff Kingsbury. I love Sean Payton. I love what the staff's doing right now, but we never would have had the Hackett issue had we gone with Quinn in the first place.
Well,
yeah, I'll take my L on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good L to take. I mean, the one thing I think with Dan
and
Quinn
they brought in Sam Hartman.
The one thing with Quinn, unfortunately, is can he get over that hump? I mean, it's just it's one of those things, and then that's also, I think, how can he recover? Look, we've had this conversation a little bit too with the Commanders, but do I think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to end up taking maybe another job somewhere in college or whatever? I don't know, but I think it's fair to assume he's not going to. But I think that the question's just going to end up becoming, what will Dan Quinn do post a fair amount of the staff that's there? That's really the ultimate question, and kind of what failed him in the first place. In Atlanta, where he did have Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniels. I think he even had another Kubiak on that staff. But it's really just all about what happens after the fact? How can you recover after the fact? And he replaced it with the Steve Sarkisian, the great coach of Texas. And unfortunately, Sarkisian didn't exactly work out, in the NFL, and he went back to college, and the rest is history there. But yeah, it's just an nature of the beast, and I just think that's my thinking, is I actually think he's a really good regular season coach. It's just, how can he get over the hump and win that big one finally?
No, I am not out on Peyton.
He was initially. Can't confirm.
I was initially, because I would rather have had Dan Quinn. Now, I will say this.
He was even out on Sean Payton in week 2.
I was. I love what Sean, and there are still things that I question, right, with Sean Payton, why did it take so long to get Bo Nix into the full playbook and throwing the ball deep like we saw against the Panthers, right? There are still things I don't know, but I'm not a coach. He's forgotten more football than I've ever known. So I'm not going to question it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I'm not out on Peyton. I'm starting to see, you can tell the culture's there. The culture's there. You can see it. But now you're starting to see this was the plan. This is how he wanted Bo Nix to learn and grow. My thing is, if we would have gone with Dan Quinn in the first place, there wouldn't have been a Nathaniel Hackett. There wouldn't have been a Russell Wilson. There wouldn't have been an Aaron Rodgers trade thing. None of that would have been here. We wouldn't have had to deal with that. That was my whole thing.
Well, Russell Wilson probably still would have happened.
No.
Some quarterback probably still would have happened. But I do agree that it would have probably mitigated disaster a little bit. But ultimately, the Broncos got the hire right in the end.
Yeah. All right. So Graham brought it up earlier, and this is where I wanted to start talking about going into the Ravens. We'll kind of mix the what we saw in the Panthers to what we might see against the Ravens. But the Ravens did make a trade with the Panthers for Deontay Johnson. They traded a 5th for Johnson and a 6th. Really?
We couldn't have Denver couldn't have done that? Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Nope. Denver needs another weapon, and Johnson would have definitely been a intriguing, comparatively young, 28-year-old, comparatively cheap. I think he would have made $3.5 million. And the freaking the Panthers are absorbing a good chunk of Johnson's salary. So I would imagine that Baltimore is basically getting him for the vet minimum. And it was for that much of a pick swap. Like Denver would have basically almost broken even there, getting an additional weapon. Plus you would still have draft capital. I don't understand this at all. I am sick that we're watching the rest of the AFC, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills get better, and now we've got the Broncos just sitting back, twiddling their thumbs, going do 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 do. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Yeah. Another thing that was another thing I mentioned today is like, if it was me, I would like to see him make a move, but I think that, you know, I don't hate it either way. I mean, obviously the preference is I would like to see a move, but given the whole development side of things and with where this team is at specifically, you know, from the quarterback side of things, and you know, I don't think we even made this point yet, but there's an argument to be made that Bo Nix is actually making the wide receiver room better, and that's a pretty bad wide receiver room. So he's actually making them better with his play the last 5 to 6 weeks. So I'm okay keeping this room intact for as much as they can, specifically when you think of the Panthers game and now possible utilization of the tight end. And so if you're able to incorporate some of this in with, you know, some Cortland Sutton, you know, emergence a little bit more, and some Troy Franklin, and, you know, Devon Bailey out of the backfield, Marvin Mims out of the backfield, you know, so like I'm okay standing pat, but I think there's that caveat where I'm okay with them not making moves now if it means that they're going to just go all in with their 75 plus, you know, million in cap space and really dive in to, you know, the needs and everything that they need. Specifically, is it a pipe dream? Yes. But the Bengals, have they done anything about it? No. Meaning you just throw all your chips in and you get aggressive with a guy like a T. Higgins, so that a team like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens don't actually, you know, do anything about it, and you actually outbid the Kansas City Chiefs so that he doesn't go there. But more importantly, you have a young quarterback that you can build around. And so I think that, like, I think it's a win-win situation either way, just as a take goes. So I don't hate it, honestly.
Yeah.
For me,
and we didn't even. Sorry, I was gonna say we didn't even get into the fact that DeAndre Hopkins just got traded to the Chiefs like last week after the show. I don't know if you guys got into it or not, but that sucks too. So it sucks because we see what we need, right? Like we need a running back, we need a tight end, we need a wide receiver, but at this point, do you actually make that trade? Or do you let it sit, go in the draft, maybe trade away a couple players like Gage, you talked about Dulcich. I know that Ben Albright had mentioned Baron Browning's name. Like, do we just trade them and get draft picks? Or do we try to trade them for other players?
As far as Dulcich is concerned, I don't think he has any trade value. I think you're going to have to cut him. Browning,
they
I
build
think
a pop machine for a year.
I think that with Browning, you can probably you can probably just go ahead and trade him now for draft picks, and you can maybe use that draft pick to get somebody at the trade deadline now. And as far as getting somebody at the trade deadline now, if there's somebody out there that you think can be a difference maker for you in the next 2-3 years, not just this year, then you absolutely make that move. That's why I'm pounding the table for somebody like David Njoku. I don't think that David Njoku would just help the Broncos this year. He would help the Broncos for the next 2-3 years. I feel like Deontay Johnson would have at least helped the Broncos this year and next year. Someone like T. Higgins would help the Broncos long-term. Maybe somebody like Evan Ingram as well. You know, these are all guys that would be part of this team for the long haul. This wouldn't just be a one-year rental this year to make a push towards the playoffs. You want to make the push towards the playoffs this year and then take that momentum into next year where you'll have some money to burn. You'll be able to acquire a few more resources. But if there's a resource that's available now, then I don't understand why you wouldn't make that move. That's just my logic.
Evan Ingram.
I
Yeah,
actually think,
totally.
I actually think that Evan Ingram, based on currently with where we sit, is probably your most logical tight end to go after. Specifically, when you look at what the Jacksonville Jaguars did with the Minnesota Vikings about 30 minutes, to about an hour before we went live, where they traded Cam Robinson to the Minnesota Vikings. So I absolutely would call. Like I absolutely would call and consider maybe even an early day 3 pick. As maybe a 4th to 5th round pick. Maybe make it a little bit conditional, if you will. Maybe you make it a conditional pick for 2026 that can become, a 4th round pick or something like that. You do something in terms of a move like that. I think that the other one where it's going to end up being fascinating is the wide receiver position, because no, they aren't household names, but there are moves that you can make. That even if you get Evan Ingram, you can, if you want to, go out and get another player to add to this room. And I hate to say it, but Mike Williams is certainly out there, where you can go and you can reunite him with Joe Lombardi, from the New York Jets. And then, of course, the other one that I would be kind of monitoring now, he's a bit of a head case lately with the Patriots, but Booty from the Patriots. It certainly is going to be, interesting, to kind of follow there. But he's a rather talented wide receiver, and so it also kind of fits the younger timeline of a wide receiver, to where you might actually get the chance to groom him with the wide receiving, room. So there are avenues that they can go to attack this trade and trade deadline with guys like Evan Ingram, and then you bring in some other wide receivers and playmakers. So they certainly can do it. I just don't know if they will.
Absolute booty cheeks.
I'm telling you right now, if we bring in Booty, his name is Booty Cheeks. From here on out, that's gonna be the name.
And just how fun would that be? You have a running back of Tyler Bidet, and then you have a Booty from the
yeah.
You can get some endorsement deals with that.
Now, we say all this and we talk about tight ends, but in that Panthers game,
mm-hmm.
I know that Cortland Sutton makes amazing catches, but I'm putting that Troutman catch right up there with any catch Cortland Sutton made. That was an amazing one-handed catch and a great throw on top of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was gorgeous. Broncos were just running stick knot on that one, and Troutman got open, and Bo literally just layered that ball right in, and Troutman sucks it in one-handed. It was gorgeous.
This is going to bring a smile to some of the faces of Broncos country, but, for one of the, some positive memories that we had post Peyton Manning, one of the ones that, reminded me of with the catch to Adam Troutman was the AJ Derby catch that he made. It was on the sideline. It was a one-handed grab where he did score on the play. That's what it kind of reminded me of. But what a seed. It was an even better throw from Bo. And frankly, this is actually now the second time in 3 weeks or so where Bo has actually, it's been in a spectacular catch, but he's put it in literally the only place where the wide receiver can get it. He did it to Cortland Sutton in that Chargers game, but then he did this, with Adam Troutman. So he's kind of got a little bit of some moxie there.
Yeah, and I was gonna bring this up because we talked about it earlier with Sean Payton versus Dan Quinn and all that. But you look at how this Panthers game played out, and we saw what we thought we were going to see at the beginning of the year. Like the majority of throws that Bo Nix made were 10 or more yards, like deep balls. And they were on point, good spiral, accurate. It was incredible seeing what we thought we were going to see at the beginning of the year finally working out into what we saw in the Panthers game.
Yep. And again, I know there are going to be a lot of people out there that are like, oh, but it was just against the Panthers. The Panthers are terrible. But again, man, Bo Nix, his feet were clean. I don't give a crap who your opponent is. If your feet are clean, you are going to be accurate with the football. And that's what happened. Bo Nix was dicing up the Panthers defense. And yes, the Panthers were playing some soft coverage at times, and they gave Bo Nix those throws. But still, we'd be crapping on Bo Nix right now if he didn't make those throws. Literally, he did exactly what he had to do against a crappy team.
Yeah. And just real quick, I'm not putting Franklin on the practice squad. I'm keeping the same energy right now that I'm doing with the rookie quarterback that with the rookie wide receiver. He's a rookie. Let's give him some time to throw to grow. I mean, he also in the last week had 100% separation in that Saints game, and he has grown since that Raiders game where he did have that drop. It was just an unfortunate situation. It happens sometimes when you're a rookie. But you just have to let the process play out. If this is a problem a la Jerry Jeudy, possibly, in a couple of years, well, then you absolutely have a problem. But he's a rookie. You do have to show a bit of some grace here. But in regards to Bo, it was just so impressive because, this was a case where he literally did everything that you would have asked him to do. And I think that for me, and looking at this game, the fact he didn't even use his legs is actually remarkable because, a lot of people are going to be attached to, the use of his legs and, and the fact that he can use his legs and be creative and scramble and get out of a lot of situations and use it for rushing yards. There's a difference between Javonte Williams right now and a rookie wide receiver right now. So I'm just kind of clearing that up a little bit. But I
kind of want to go to your point and then you can finish. Like the only knock I will give Bo Nix on running the ball was that jump over the pile into the end zone. Don't do that. That terrifies me. Like somebody's gonna meet you in the middle. And whether it's your shoulder, whether it's your arm, whether it's your head, something's going to hurt. Don't do that.
I loved it.
Coaching told them to do it, so I'm good with it.
Well, Screw the coaches. I want danger. Don't do that again.
But, I just think that, for what we're having, and for what Bo Nix has been able to operate, it's been remarkable. And I think that, like, the way that he has been operating and the way that he operates specifically with the Panthers game, it was like you were seeing a carbon copy of Breeze. It was, the way he was so surgical, and there were times, like the thing that was so crazy was there were times in that Panthers game where the Panthers were daring Bo Nix to throw the football. And you know what? He beat you. It actually reminded me a little bit of, funny enough, it was in Denver, and it was the Jalen Hurts game. It was the Eagles game with Jalen Hurts, who, funny enough, has been a Bo Nix comparison. But the Broncos were trying to, basically, let Jalen Hurts beat him through the air. He had some scramble yards here and there, but like he beat them like consistently through the air. And he was able to just make play after play after play. And there was literally nothing you can do about it. And that's exactly what Bo Nix did. And if he can be able to continue that, he is on a trajectory that, I don't think any of us could have ever imagined.
Yeah. So Jeff Bryant's talking about Javonte Williams, saying he's being the devil's advocate, not trying to rile up the posse. Not riling us up.
You're good.
Yeah, one of the points I was going to make is that Denver seems to have found their running game, but it's not with Javonte. Like Jaleel McLaughlin, I think, has earned the opportunity to be the starting back. He can run it outside. He can run it up the middle. He can catch the ball. He can catch the pitch. He can get screens, like the same thing that Javonte can do. McLaughlin is doing, but he's doing it better. You can tell that Denver is force-feeding Javonte the ball. He's just not doing anything with it. Even that incredible game he just had wasn't really that incredible. Like he had 80 yards.
Javonte.
Now hold on.
I have got no love for Javonte, but that was an incredible game.
Yeah.
It really wasn't though. Like it was a good game, but it wasn't he didn't have 100 yards. He didn't like
Mike.
Listen. I'm just saying. Like I'm not saying it was a bad game, but it wasn't an incredible game. Like,
That was
we're not
the
talking
best
like
Javonte Williams game we've had in.
But that doesn't mean it was incredible. Like
Yeah,
you look
it
at
is,
you look at Saquon Barkley and tell me he's not having incredible games. But you're putting Javonte at a level of incredible. Like it was a good game.
Oh, what game?
It was a good game, but it wasn't incredible.
But
it was a good game.
But you mentioned Saquon Barkley
because he has incredible games.
But he was a top 5 pick.
But I know, but he's playing incredible. He's having incredible games. Javonte has had a good game, not an incredible game.
But that Saints game truly was for me at least, was an incredible game.
I'll put it this way. Javonte had an incredible game for him.
That's fair.
That's fair. But I will say, like, from the eyes that I saw, it was an incredible game.
For him.
But I will say this. From watching the game, and Gage, I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch all 22. From watching the game live, I really don't think that Javonte Williams played great. I really don't. But getting a chance and looking at some of the all 22, I don't think it was actually as egregious, I will say, as I initially thought. I thought it was a bad game, but I just thought that there were times where specifically the run blocking wasn't necessarily great at times. You know what I mean? Like it really wasn't necessarily great at times. And so the vision where I thought that Javonte actually hit the right role or the right hole, I thought he did. But unfortunately, the Panthers defense, credit to them, and the run defense actually kind of stifled him just a little bit, but nonetheless, I do still think it was a bit of a bad game. But I don't think it was as bad or as egregious as I originally, suspected.
I don't know, though. There's one play in particular that really bothers me, and I want to say it was a trap where Quinn Miners is pulling across to the left side. He gets to the second level, and he clears a gap. He's still plowing his defender about 5-6 yards down the field. Javonte could cut into that hole if he wants to, and yet he still runs to the right into the backs of his blockers. Like, I do agree there were a couple plays on tape where for sure the run blocking was subpar, but there were also multiple plays on tape where Javonte had lanes to cut back, he had holes to hit, and he still was dancing behind the line of scrimmage, kind of pitter-pattering with happy feet, and would still run into the wrong hole. I just get so frustrated with that because we see Javonte go out against New Orleans, a bad run defense, and he completely gashes them. And against Carolina, they have about as poor of a run defense, and he should have been able to go out there and gash, and he didn't do it. I just cannot deal with this inconsistency with Javonte Williams anymore. Yeah. It's just 1 week he's hot, the next week he's cold. I'm ready to let him walk as a free agent. To the Mike of making Jaleel McLaughlin the starting running back, I just don't think that he can take the punishment and be a 20-plus carry back in the NFL. I think that you want to keep him to about 10 to 12 touches a game, and he'll give you some explosive plays on those touches. But I think that you're kind of stuck with Javonte Williams unless you go out and trade for somebody because he's your best pass protecting back. And right now they don't really trust Audric Estime, so you're kind of stuck with Williams at this point.
Adrian Peterson wants to come back.
have him
go get Gentry from Boise State. There we go.
Well, I was gonna say have him dip into the fountain of youth, and then we'll have this conversation about about Adrian Peterson. Graham did ask about Estime, and it's like it's unfortunate. I do think the team likes him. I will say I do think that the team really likes him a lot. It's just unfortunate with the way that he had the fumbles early on. I think it's sometimes unfortunate. If I'm going to be using the same energy, if I will, on Troy Franklin and kind of using some of the grace on some of the drops, I do think it's a bit unfortunate. And that at times, like when you look at the running back position, it's like the wide receiver position is okay in the sense of like we're going to give some snaps to some people with the wide receiver position, specifically given the drops and everything. But then you look at the running back position, they have like 2 fumbles, at this particular point in the year, and then automatically they're in the doghouse. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I think that like, and specifically with a rookie, I do know that you've got to take your lumps. And I think for Estime, there might be a point in time where you can be able to take your lumps with him. Unfortunately, I just don't know if that's going to end up happening. But I do think the team really likes Estime a lot. And I still kind of view him as the Javonte Williams replacement. But when and this is a futuristic episode that we'll probably be having at 5280, but you look specifically at this draft upcoming, it fits perfectly with the needs of the needs of this football team. Running back, wide receiver, tight end. Like it fits so perfect for what this team needs. But we all say that. We said they were going to draft a tackle this last class, and they didn't. So I wouldn't be surprised if they even, didn't address anything.
Well, and that's one of the things that I was going to bring up in a little bit was you look at this draft class. There are so many like top level wide receivers in this draft. There's a bunch,
and running backs too.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Gentry, and I mean, doesn't like
Genty.
That's what I just said, Genty. Outside of Genty. Is there even a running back worth taking outside of him?
Yeah.
I mean,
God, yes. There are multiple
I'm just
running
kidding.
backs.
He's not kidding, folks.
Better than Javonte Lukewarm Williams. Oh, he had an incredible game for him.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, he was slashing the Saints 88 yards.
See?
That's not slashing. 88 yards.
Graham said you said Gentry.
No, I'm not talking about Montgomery Gentry. Genty. Genty. Everybody's, you know what, guys?
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
All right. So,
there are a lot of running backs in the.
Yeah, there's running backs, wide receivers. There's not like you go back and you look at and obviously it's way early to look at draft projections, but I think they have like 12 wide receivers coming off the board in the first round. Like there's a bunch.
Yeah, could. But I mean, like you have the Iowa running back who's, we know Iowa. So, sometimes, you get players that are basically the entire focal point of their offense. And Caleb Johnson is like literally the focal point of their entire offense. But yeah, so he's a great back to look for. You have Manangai from Rutgers, who's a very slept on running back. You have obviously Donovan Edwards from Michigan, Caleb Mullings from Michigan, the other 2 running backs for Ohio State, Judkins, the NCAA 25 merchant, and Travion Henderson. So, and I think Omarion Hampton from the University of North Carolina. So there are some dudes, like there are absolutely, some players in wide receiver. What is it? Emeka Ibuka. He's probably like one of the best fits in the first round, actually, with where we're sitting. Luther Burden, maybe, depending on if he slides. But I mean, yeah.
Why do they got to make the name so hard? Like, just name your kid Henry, for God's sakes. Like, come on. Like, calm it down a little bit.
We
got to figure out how to say these names. Like, Ted. It's easy.
What you want like a little Jordan Jenkins?
Something.
Little Jordan Jenkins.
And to be fair, Lil, come on. Lil? All right.
You know the story behind that, right?
No.
He was named after Michael. He was named after Michael Jordan, but apparently they didn't want to call him Michael Jordan, so they called him Little Jordan.
Yeah, how about Mundungus?
Yeah, Mundungus Jordan. Or go
Munfungus.
with what? Go back to what Jeff said. Mundungus Throckmorton. That's the name. That's what you want. Easy to pronounce. Just saying.
Hobbit
Ted.
Mundungus Throckmorton.
Ted.
Hey, come on. We learned Alberto Cuebunam. We could get
I was gonna
over any
say,
of the other ones.
Yeah, but if you have to sit there and study the name to try to figure it out, it's too hard.
Well, maybe you need to take a phonics class.
Ted. Easy. Aaron. You can spell
Come
it
on.
7 different ways. It's still the
If we
same.
can-
Aaron.
If we can do Alberto Cuebunam, Alex Palczewski, all these ones, I think we can
but
manage.
How long did people call him Alberto? Because we couldn't figure it out.
Well, I mean, Alberto
Okay.
is just a fun nickname, too.
All right, so we move on to the offensive line. We've talked a little bit about it, but I think we have a general conundrum here because Mike McGlinchey really solidifies this offensive line at right tackle, and he still got Alex Palczewski.
That's not exactly where I thought you were going.
Well, Garrett Bowles needs to go, number 1. Out, gone.
No, I thought you were gonna go.
I know where Cam is.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Cam. We're on the offensive line. Forsyth is out for me. Already gone. Get out.
What? Come on, brother.
Remember in out a couple episodes ago, I'm out on Forsyth, and then he had a fantastic game. But
And then he got another one after that.
But judging by how your incredible is judged, I don't know what that really means.
That's good. I thought so. It was a bit suspect in the run.
Yeah,
defense.
that. Come on. Ioma Uwazurike. I know it now, but you know how long you had to go through phonics to figure that out? And Google's got like 7 different explanations for it.
But
just calling me EU.
But Alex Forsyth, like he struggled in the run blocking against the Panthers, but the one area where he needed to work, so hard on was the pass blocking, and he was exceptional in that regard. And so you look at the game that he had against the Saints, where the run blocking was superb. Then you look at another game where the pass blocking was excellent. It goes to show you something's there. Like something is absolutely there, with him, and specifically, and this is and obviously for people that listen to me in the Broncos, this is old news. But I've mentioned this before in the sense that like it's like a starting pitcher in baseball where for a quarterback, you need to be able to be comfortable and most comfortable with the center he is most comfortable with, right? And you see it in baseball where the starting pitcher is the most comfortable with a certain catcher that he feels the most comfortable with. Well, after the best game literally of Bo Nix's career, opponent aside, I am sticking with Forsyth for the time being, and I'm sorry, but Whataburger is not going to end up being the center going forward. I am solely sticking with Alex Forsyth at starting center right now.
Damn it, Cam. I want freaking Whataburger now. But seriously, like, oh my God. But anyway, I think that as far as Alex Forsyth is concerned, like you said, he did struggle a little bit in run blocking, but what we saw from him in pass protection really does give you a lot of optimism because we know that generally he's a pretty good run blocker. It was pass pro that he really needed to have a breakout performance. And I thought that he did indeed have that breakout performance, which was very good to see. So at this point, I do think that you have to have the conversation. Do you keep Forsyth in the lineup? And right now, I'm leaning towards yes, because I think between the two players, Forsyth has the higher ceiling. And if he can get a full, complete game together, both in pass blocking and in run blocking, then I think that will all but solidify it. I believe that Luke has to miss, 2 more games? Mm-hmm. So Forsyth is going to have a couple more opportunities here to make that impact and solidify himself as the Broncos starting center.
And if it's really good against the Ravens and
Yeah.
the Chiefs, that is quite, the audition tape for you to be the full-time center.
I mean,
Yes,
you've got guys like
pronunciation of
Justin
names was a
Madubuike
topic.
and then Chris Jones back-to-back weeks. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes, pronunciations was a topic, and Gage is the only one that's high as far as I know right now. So
Facts. I definitely am.
Facts. What in God's name is that?
Michael Humawanawuni.
TJ
that one I
Hushmanzada.
always
I know
got.
that one.
TJ
It's actually,
Hushmanzada, Brendan Adanbayo, Uche Nawari, and I'm not even going to try the last one.
it's obviously TJ Hujamama. Like, let's be honest.
Right? Wow. Yeah, Ted. That's what I'm naming him. Lord. It's
Yeah,
like they're
that
trying to use every letter in the alphabet on these names.
You want to know the NFL last name that will win you the most points in Scrabble? Use check.
Mm.
Not Palchevsky.
You know who has the shortest name in the entire NFL? Bo Nix.
Yep.
Yeah, see? Bo Nix. Easy. You might misspell it CKS, but other than that, and see, like you look at it, you're like, oh, that's Bo. You look at that, and you're like, what in God's name is that? It wouldn't surprise me if that was one name.
Who would have thought we actually would have maybe our best show of 5280 without Glenn?
Just because he'd be making fun of me for all these, like, come on, you look at that, and you can't go up there and go, oh, I know exactly what that name is, Michael Humanu. Like, that's what you do until you Google it, and I swear to God, there's going to be 10 different pronunciations of each one of them names.
Oh yeah, no, like some of these, like even professional announcers, like I remember the ones that would struggle with Albert Okuegbunam. It's not that
Kevin
hard.
Harlan, to be exact.
Kevin Harlan and who else? Greg Gumbel. Greg Gumbel was horrible with Albert Okuegbunam. And it felt like we were always getting Greg Gumbel too.
Like we're arguing over McMillan or Macmillan, right? And then you throw us that? Come on.
Okay, you know what? At least we got his first name right. They're not calling him Jaquan anymore. They're calling him Jaquan. That they got that one right. So I will give him credit there.
Right? He's out of town, but he should be in the chat, but he's not because he's a loser. I'm kidding. No, I'm not.
He's tardy.
Loser.
Sir.
All right. So, two things I want to end with before we get to the Ravens game, which would probably just be a guess of score. But number one, screw Tepper kicking out a Broncos fan. Like, okay.
I don't think that was. I think that was shot down.
Albright shot it down, but I don't know, man. I think Albright's a little bit of a team water carrier in that situation. I think that based on the optics of that situation, that was indeed what happened.
Well, either way, Karen or whatever. I mean, it could have been Tepper in a wig. I don't know who it was. I'm just saying, like, aside from like racist comments and a fight, you shouldn't let anybody else from another team kick out somebody at a home game. Like, no. Don't know what the situation was. Don't know what was said. I can't imagine it was that bad. He was probably just getting made fun of because he's the worst owner in the NFL because Snyder's gone. But I'm just saying, like, you made your bet. Now you got to lay in it, sir.
Yeah, they don't call him Dave Temper for nothing.
Stupid. And then you have NFL Twitter, who apparently doesn't know who Barrelman is. Like, they got that thing with the baby in the barrel. It's like,
by the way,
explain this? Do we have to explain it?
We briefly also touch on that wasn't the only mistake that they made. They said that the Broncos were 4-3 after the Panthers game. Yeah, and it actually got community notes, and it was shared by the team handle.
Stop it!
See,
no more names.
God.
See, I read the last name, and I think of Ratatouille Spatula.
Yes! See, I'm going to Rapati P2. And I'm just leaving it at that.
That's hilarious.
But, moving on.
Ravens game.
Yes, Ravens game. we're starting to get into the meat of the schedule. And to be fair, you look at the schedule at the beginning of the season, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be a slaughter fest. You got the Ravens, you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Chargers, you've got these teams.
The Falcons after the Chiefs game.
Right? Like out of the next 3 games, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Falcons, I'm honestly more nervous about the Falcons than the previous 2. The Chiefs are not the same team, and neither are the Ravens. Like, the Ravens just got beat by the Browns, and the Browns, even with Jameis Winston, are still not that good of a team.
Where's your confidence level gauge on like some of those 3 games?
I think my confidence level is honestly probably highest right now in the Ravens game, believe it or not, because of, like I stated earlier, they do have a suspect pass defense. I do think that Bo Nix will be able to get into a calm, consistent rhythm in that game. If you can run the ball against them, which definitely is hard, but if you can run the ball against them, then I think you'll be able to at least keep up with their offense. It's going to be difficult. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, everybody.
Johnson.
Now Deontay Johnson's been added into the mix.
We'll see if he's active and everything, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll have to see, but still, it's going to be a blow for blow matchup here. I think that it's probably going to end up in more points than people might expect, because I think that both of these defenses are going to face a really tough challenge. I think that this is going to be easily the toughest challenge that the Broncos defense has faced, and they have been overall solid against the run this year, but they have sprung a couple of leaks. You think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game where Bucky Irving was kind of starting to run on them a bit. That could be an issue here going up against the King Henry. He's gonna get his own, man. He's gonna have a couple of explosive runs. That's just what he does. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be a tough, hard-fought battle between these 2 teams. So I'd say probably my confidence level is the highest in that game. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs. You know, it's going to be at Arrowhead. I think the Broncos have a better chance to beat the Chiefs later on this season. As suspect as the Chiefs are, they still have Patrick Mahomes. They're still going to find ways to win. So that one I definitely have some concerns about. I'd be less concerned about it if it were at home. And then you've got the Falcons, who are playing some good complementary football right now. I have confidence in that game as well because it's at home, but I think Baltimore is that one that you can go on the road, beat a team, and get a tiebreaker over a team that you could potentially be neck and neck with in a playoff race. That could be huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, it's probably the Ravens game.
Drake London.
But I think that we also
Darnell Mooney.
We have to prepare ourselves for the possibility the Broncos go 0-3 in this stretch. Like we have to prepare ourselves. Doesn't mean that they will, but I think that the Baltimore game is one where, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Broncos, fare. The last handful of games that the Broncos specifically have had with the Ravens have been dogfights. And also I think that for something to monitor is that, Derrick Henry has actually been a non-factor in games against the Broncos. And so if you're looking at, some of the matchups here, specifically Justin Sternad and Cody Barton, and even Quan Alexander, they have to be on their P's and Q's in filling run lanes. So I think that, they absolutely have to be able to fit run gaps. They can't miss any, and you've got to be able to, wrap up and tackle. So they've got to be able to, just be on assignment at all times, with Derrick Henry. And frankly, it sounds sketchy, but the game plan might actually end up being have Lamar Jackson beat you through the air. As crazy as that is, have him beat you through the air and have him, stay in the pocket, right? So I think that like that's going to probably end up having to be your game plan. Probably was supposed to be the game plan, um, you know. So it's just I don't know. It's a rough one, but on the offensive side of things, and we talked about it briefly. You absolutely have to, get some through the air, and I think that this is one thing I will say. I think that sometimes, and I'm not saying often, but sometimes you do see rookie quarterbacks where they overlook and they overlook to an opponent like, let's just say, the Ravens, and they just have a flub of a performance. I think the fact that Bo had this game against the Carolina Panthers is actually a good thing for him going up against this Ravens team, because it means that he actually has a game under his belt before a big time game where he can be able to, get comfortable, get calm, and specifically the offense that they ran of him getting out of the pocket, making him comfortable, making him basically look like Jake Plummer. That's a comparison we actually haven't necessarily said on the show, but just, making him look like Jake Plummer. Get outside the pocket, make some throws on the run, get away from the pass rush, throw some screens here and there. I think that type of game plan needs to be the exact same type of game plan against the Baltimore Ravens. And I think that, for the wide receiving core, continue on scramble drill. I think that's one of the areas where I thought it was so impressive with the wide receivers, where they were on it in terms of scramble drill. Vele was fantastic. Cortland was even fantastic. So they were great, and they've got to be able to absolutely, play really, really well. They got to play really well against these next three teams, and I think that you do get a really good game against the Broncos and Ravens.
Yeah. And I know that Denver's defense has struggled over the last couple of years stopping the run. I know that Denver's defense is better this year, and we've definitely gotten better at stopping the run. But when you have Derrick Henry, who is formerly known as Shaquille O'Neal because he's freaking massive, like huge dude, running that ball down your throat, like we're good on the edges. Zach Allen on the edge, right? Zach Allen on the edge. You've got Cooper, Benito. Like you have all these guys that are able to get in there and get to the quarterback or lock down the edge. That leaves the middle open, and I don't think the middle has been tested with someone with the skill set and size of Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry still makes me nervous when it comes to trying to stop the run game. I have no questions about our secondary. PS2, Riley Moss, Macmillan, I think will be fine. We're probably going to see Barton and Alexander covering tight ends because they've got two good ones, Andrews and Likely.
Probably more likely than Andrews, but you can't sleep on Andrews.
Right. And like other than bring a safety down to cover the other tight end, I don't know what else you do. Can you even go man, or do you got to play zone with that many weapons?
It's tough because like if you play zone, that could leave you vulnerable in the run game. Vance Joseph, to his credit, when he does play zone, he plays a lot of cover 3, so that helps. It does bring an extra body downhill to help out in the run game, but you have to kind of pick your poison in this situation because the Ravens have multiple different ways that they can beat you. They can beat you on the ground. They can beat you through the air. I think that you've got to play man coverage. You've got to play contain on the edges. You've got to put a spy on Lamar and basically just hope that Lamar doesn't kill you through the air. I think that's kind of your game plan in this scenario. Just play tight to the line, sell out to stop the run, and force Lamar to make those big plays.
Okay, go ahead.
Who do you guys have as a spy for Lamar? I have one. It's
Justin
kind
Strnad for me.
That's where I was going.
I have a weird one. Well, maybe not a weird one, but it's going to be an interesting one.
DJ Jones.
Nick Benito.
Oh, DJ Jones. I mean, Benito could fly around with Lamar. I could see that. You need
Yeah.
somebody who can keep up with him. That's why I suggested Justin Sternad, because he at least is athletic. He can fly around and he can at least somewhat keep up step for step with Lamar. But Nick Benito could be a fun one, especially put him as like a QB spy off the edge. You drop him back and let him follow Lamar around. That could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the safety play? Hey, Brandon Jones is impressing me. I like Brandon Jones.
Great number.
Again, not Justin Simmons, but Brandon Jones is playing very, very well.
Top 6, top 7 in terms of coverage safety, according to Pro Football Focus, of the entire NFL. I mean, he is playing really, really well. That's Jim Leonard for you, But he's playing well.
And we saw Devon Key step up in the game against Carolina. Yeah. I thought that he did have a couple of whiffs here or there, but more than serviceable stepping in for PJ Locke. So if PJ can't go again this week, then I'm more than confident in Devon Key being able to step in there once again.
So what are we thinking score-wise? What are we thinking prediction-wise?
I think I'll kind of go true to what I had before the season, and I will say that this is going to end up being a loss to the Ravens. 11 o'clock game, but I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be a dogfight, but so much of a dogfight that I think it's actually not going to be a defensive game. It's just going to be one where I think the Broncos actually kind of go toe-to-toe a little bit with the Ravens from the offensive side of things. So I'm thinking 27-24 Ravens. Also, we didn't get a chance to say this, but this is the first game that we will finally have where Jim Nantz and Tony Romo will be calling the game. We get primetime announcers.
Woo! At least it's not Brady. Woo! I don't like Brady.
Yeah, Nance and Romo, that's going to be fun. We got Ian Eagle and Charles Davis earlier this year. That was a nice palate cleanser after back-to-back weeks of Sparrow Ditas and Adam Archuleta. And so, yeah, that's definitely going to be nice. But as far as how this game is going to go for me, or did you give your score? Yeah, you did, Cam. Sorry.
Yeah.
Were you through?
27-24 Ravens.
Okay. I just want to make sure you got all your points in. But for me, I think that offensively, Denver is going to be able to put up some points. I think that Bo Nix is going to continue his strong performances through the air against a suspect Ravens pass defense. The run game for Denver, we're going to have to see what happens. We'll have to see if maybe they can generate some production. This Ravens run defense is definitely better than their pass defense is, but if you can run the ball and control the clock and then let Bo Nix beat you off play action and stuff like that, kind of like what we saw with this Panthers team, I thought that with this Panthers game, I thought that Bo Nix was really good off of play action. So I think that you're going to see this offense score points, but the Ravens, their offense is so dynamic. They can beat you in so many different ways. It's easily going to be the toughest test that our defense has seen all year long. So I do have the Baltimore Ravens winning this game. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be 31-27 Baltimore.
Graham.
USA! USA! USA!
All right, so I'm going to go 27-13 Ravens.
That's fair.
I don't trust the offense until I see it. Like, you can look at the offense and go, man, they had a great week, Panthers. Like, you don't know what you're going to get out of Javonte. You don't know what you're going to get out of the offensive line.
The funniest thing is it is all setting up for Javonte to have a really good game. Like, it is
Like, really good game. Like, woo, 17 yards, really good game.
Just want to point out that it was Gage who really hated on Javonte Williams going into that New Orleans Saints game, and he did have that incredible game against the Saints.
Yeah, 88 yards. Incredible.
And then we hated on him again. No, though we praised him and then he had a bad game. Now we're hating on him again. I'm just saying.
You know what? He gives me a 100-yard game. I'll forget everything. 100 yards and not total running. 100-yard rushing.
So is that the measuring stick? Javonte's
Yes.
100. So Bo Nix throws for 400 yards and doesn't have a touchdown and no interceptions. That must be a really bad game.
No, it's a good game. It's a good game. But when you have 260 yards and 4 touchdowns, that's a great game. Like, yards aren't the end all be all. Right? But going back to the Ravens game, right? Like, you don't know what you're going to get out of the offensive line. You don't know what you're going to get out of the running back. You have a wide receiver room that has an issue with drops. You have a wide receiver room that has an issue with getting open, except for Troy Franklin, apparently, but then he can't catch it when you throw it at him. You have a suspect tight end room. So, like, until we see how Denver's offense fares against an actual good playoff contending team, I'm going to say that the Ravens are going to win.
But to be fair, and obviously in retrospect, it's not good now. But to Jeff Bryan's point, the Jets were a really, really good, stout run defense team, and we broke them. So going into that game, but
that game was all defense.
But
like that's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about our defense. I'm worried about our offense.
But I'm saying running the ball. Like I'm just saying running the ball. Like Javonte had a great game, a great game, not an incredible game, but a great game against the Jets. So it can happen.
I don't know. And again, I would love it if Denver plays exactly the same way against the Ravens that they played against the Panthers.
I will be insufferable.
I would love it.
The game that he does.
I'm just saying, like, until proven otherwise, because we throughout the entire season, we've seen Bo Nix get better and better and better and better, but we still aren't seeing that consistency in the run game and in the passing game, not because of Bo Nix, but because of wide receivers dropping the ball or not being in the right place at the right time or whatever the case may be. Until they can put it all together, I'm going to say that the Ravens are going to win this game until I can see otherwise.
Wow. So with that, I was going to say, so with that logic, you think that the Broncos are going to go 5-12 this year?
Yes.
Okay.
I was trying to do the math in my head, like, okay, 12 plus 5 is what? 17. Got it. Okay, that's the right number of games.
You're going to make a point, Gage. Sorry.
Serious question. What is that the question, or do you have? Oh, did anyone else notice Peyton's play sheet?
Was there Spider Y2 banana on there?
Spider Y2 banana.
Probably.
That's too short a call.
The one network that actually does zoom in on it pretty frequently is NBC/Amazon. They both are the same production company. And I did pause it one day and look at Sean Payton's play sheet, and the situational breakdowns for each situation that he has like 4 or 5 calls for each given situation. That's why his sheet is so freaking huge, because he's got second down, third down, red zone, first and long, all of that stuff.
You know what it reminds me of? I don't know why I just thought, it reminds me of, you remember when we were in school and we're in college and they had like those big cards for like geography and math and like everything like that, and there was like a bunch of stuff like just like on all of it, like on the left side, on the right side, and then it was front and back. That's kind of what it reminds me of when you're describing that.
Like when he's talking about seeing the play sheet on the screen, it was a couple days ago I was on TikTok and I saw this Cowboys video of like a Cowboys fan that had the TV paused on Mike McCarthy holding the play sheet, and he looks at it and he turns around and goes, "This is why we lose. What the hell is that?" And then he goes back. It was really funny.
Yeah. But it should be a good game. I think the Broncos and Ravens should be a good game.
Yeah, for sure.
It should be. All right. So, who's got the Broncos winning? Did any of us pick the Broncos?
Jeff did, actually.
Nope. Jeff did. Graham had one too, didn't he?
He said 31-27 good guys.
Bro, yeah. Oh yeah, Graham's 23-16 Ravens. I would love to pick the Broncos, but
I have a little voice in my head telling me to pick the Broncos, but I just can't quite do it yet. I will say if they beat Baltimore, then I am going to probably pick them to beat Kansas City.
Hell no, I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm going no. I'm not changing
Mario.
Like, okay,
Mario.
we beat the Ravens. Oh, who's gonna win between the Chiefs and the
All
Broncos?
right, you know what?
Ravens.
In that case, we're just
I'm
going to
sticking
do
with the
what
same
LTB
pick.
did to Mario. We're going to ban you from making picks.
That's right.
That's gonna be tough to do because it's my network.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
All right, and with that, anything else that we need to cover that we haven't yet? I think we got it all.
We got it all.
And that's 90-minute show.
It happens. They're the
That
ones
was a good
stuck around
show.
to watch it. Oh, me. With that, that's going to do it for us. We love everybody that joined us in the chat. It is a fun time when you guys can come in here and chat with us. No, nobody mutes Mike from the show. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Make sure that if you like this show, you go out and check all the other shows on the MHRT network. We have shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the neighborhood on game days. I was going to say Sunday, but they don't always play on Sunday. We have neighborhood on game days. Also, check out our partner network, the Orange and Blue Network. They also have shows on Tuesday and Wednesday, and they do the pregame and postgame show on game days. Make sure you check them out as well. With that, we love the Broncos. We love Broncos country. We will see you guys later. Peace.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So